let's get to the topic. Fundalwazi, if you're still there, here is where you're interested. Okay. The topic this year I've shortened to protection of privacy. Okay. So all about privacy, but you need to make sure that learners understand what that means. Okay. Because it's not just how to protect your privacy, but more about what has happened. Have you been influenced? How did they hack you if they hacked you? And what can be done to stop this? Okay, I'm going to say this a couple of times. Let's start. I've copied it directly from the pack. It says, although ICTs have made our lives convenient and placed information within easy reach or whatever, we have to be aware of some of the potential challenges that arise this, basically. So we're looking at potential problems because of loss of privacy or because of not protecting privacy. Another one I took from the PAT as is, while we share information and transact over the internet, our private information may be made available to others, often without us realizing the extent of our loss of privacy. So already I'm seeing two things. I'm seeing the potential challenges that arises because of loss of privacy and the extent of loss of privacy, but I'll talk to that again. Okay. Before you start, please have a discussion with your learners about what personal data is out there of me. Remember, we did the footprint 1 year, but I think it was a smaller grade. We did the digital footprint and kids had to go and research what their footprints were. And I remember someone made a calculator, which is brilliant. Okay, but talk to your learners about what data of mine is available outside. So let's talk about identity. If I say identity, who has my details and what details do they have? For example, if you've got a Google account, a Gmail account, Google has a lot of your information. And what type of information might they have? They might have demographic data. They might have phone numbers. They definitely have email addresses. They might have IP addresses, possible. Okay, now if you look at relationships, what type of personal data comes from your relationships? In other words, on Facebook, social media again, what if I say I'm related to a person, immediately it gets linked, I get linked to that person. So what information about your mother would be available because of you? What information of the Gauteng teachers would be available because of me, right? And I'm sure there's a lot. There's people, you know how many email addresses and cell phone numbers I've got. So if they just had to hack my WhatsApp account, they will find a lot of things about some of you that are actually attending my training at the moment. Careful, careful. Right, my communications. I remember people, we searched the other day, or we were looking for LinkedIn. Remember LinkedIn's also, but that's a professional network. What type of communications do you actually conduct, is the word I'm looking for, so that people can be, can I say, that it could be dangerous for people that's not you. In other words, if I post something on LinkedIn, then lots of people might see it, Twitter as well. Lots of people might see it and lots of people might respond to it, and some people might actually leave a couple of comments, and then I might actually go back and comment back on whatever they commented, and that's a type of communication that takes place. Immediately, if someone wanted to hack your information, they'll jump in there. I know there's lots of Facebook pages that get hacked. Why? What do they want? All right, let's look at the context. In other words, where do you stay? my calendar, and I remember in the theory paper, was it last year, the year before, they asked something about why would it be good to synchronize your calendar, for example, on your phone. The problem with that is once your calendar is available to, let's take Google again. I've got a problem with Google. They blocked me the other day, so I'm not very happy with them at the moment because someone shared something on my Google Drive and I had to download it. And because Google thought I was doing something fishy, they blocked my account. So Google basically checks your calendar if you share your calendar online. So there are certain dates that might be important. For example, the days, which day is my birthday, for example, and then immediately they can get parts of my ID from there. Okay, content, documents that you share. It's very important to be careful what you share, because if you want to apply for a job, people might actually go and check, oh, look at this guy. He shared a nude picture and now he wants to be a police officer, for example. That's not going to work. So what you share is just as important. Even music. The moment I Google something, again Google, the moment I Google something, then immediately some suggestions are taking place. How did they know? They didn't, because my sister Googled something and I am related to her, and because I'm related to her, Google assumes that I'm going to like the same thing, which is what they do. They get your data from things that you share. We don't even want to go into financial. Remember that year that Standard Bank got hacked? That was a big thing, and people's account details got hacked and it was stolen. That's all loss of privacy. And then some activity, your gym, your health, your sleeping patterns, although your smartphone is very, very smart and Alexa might be talking to you, even Alexa is gathering information about you as you speak to her. I don't know if Siri does, because Siri doesn't want to talk to me anymore, but I'm sure Siri is also gathering information about the questions that you ask. So your activity and your browser, and Cortana is another one. If you speak to them, they're going to start picking up on your patterns, and that's what they do. They pick up a pattern, and then eventually, if a hacker wants to hack, they've got lots and lots of information. Okay, so this slide is important to discuss in class, because remember, the learners are not necessarily all aware of what is out there. Their framework is basically social media and not anything else. But if you open a bank account, there's detail. If you've got an ID number, there's detail. If you post on LinkedIn, there's detail that they can take from you. So all these, can I say, little thingies is all gathering data about you. And sorry, we were worried that we don't want to get some of the chips that they're going to plant into us, because they're going to get information. More like, what information do they not have yet? Okay, so talk about how loss of privacy occurs. In other words, it's important that learners realize that certain actions are causing them to lose their privacy. For example, terms and conditions when you install a new program, new software on your laptop, an app on your phone. There's terms and conditions, and if you read through some of those terms and conditions, you'll see that they are sharing this information with third parties, which is important. The one I don't like, and sometimes I don't have a choice, is to accept cookies, because if you accept a cookie, it gathers information about you, and sometimes sharing, well, basically, you can't continue with the app if you don't allow them to show their cookies or accept their cookies. And then if you don't accept it, you can't continue. So you kind of don't have a choice. You have to accept it to be able to continue. And while you accept it, what happens? Talk to your learners about what a cookie is and where it's stored and why it's stored and how it could be bad for you and not necessarily bad, but also good for you. The theory question paper sometimes does not ask why a cookie is bad. It sometimes asks why a cookie is good. So those are the types of questions that come from information management, because we taught this in our classes, I hope. Right, then hidden data. There's a lot of hidden data. If you look at your phone, I know sometimes there's WhatsApps going around about what you should do to not show all your data, or which data of you is available, but it's supposed to be hidden, but it's not. For example, Facebook has people that are following you and you don't even know it, right? So there's certain things that you can do to check that data is not hidden from you. But it is hidden, eh? So they won't tell you I've got something on you. They will just have it and use it one day. Right, lots of apps ask for access to my location. Now, if you don't want to share your location, then obviously you'll need to switch off your location settings on your phone. WhatsApp, Facebook talk about things that kids know. But sometimes you need to share your location, because if you don't share your location, your app might not work correctly. So it's kind of a catch-22. I don't want you to know anything about me, but I do want to use your app. So if you give me your app, then unfortunately I'm sharing my location, and then they know where you stay. Sometimes you don't want people to know where you stay, Mosne. Right, especially weather. I mean, the first thing I'm thinking is the weather app on my phone. They know exactly where I am because I've got my location services on. Because how will I get the weather if they don't know where I am? And what do I want? I want the weather where I am. So I switched it on, and it doesn't matter where I am. They know. Those people there, they know. Right. Information can be made available to third parties. There's lots of settings when you install. It asks you for permission to share with third parties. And sometimes you just say yes. You don't even think about it. You just say yes. Google, ne? Right, then talk about aspects that may affect privacy. What aspects are out there that affect my privacy? Definitely online transactions. For sure, social media. What's the impact of the POPI Act at this stage? I didn't ask you. I was supposed to ask you, can I record this meeting? Because you need to give me permission to record this meeting. And guess what? Because I've shared this invitation with the subject advisors and they shared it with you, guess what I have? I've got all your email addresses, so I can use it if I want to, ne? But what does the POPI Act say about it? Right. Targeted marketing. It's important because a lot of online marketing is happening online this time. So if I'm Googling, if you search something like, why is the sky blue? All of a sudden, you're going to get advertisements about, I don't know, why the grass is green, for example. So the moment that you start looking for information, they tend to grasp on one of the keywords that you Googled, for example, and then that keyword will come up every time they want to advertise to you. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, I must say, but it's not necessarily a good thing. It all depends on how you look at it. Right, then big data. Let's not go there, but big data is not only big for a reason. Eh? So big data is actually big enough so that your information can go out there without you even knowing. I remember Facebook got hacked one day, long ago. Then I got a security message from them to say that the password I'm using has been compromised. How did they know that this password that I'm using would also be another password that I'm using for something else? Hence, we teach the learners do not use the same password. And let's go further. How, if you get older like me, how are you going to remember all your passwords? So what do? I take a photo and store it on my phone. That's very clever, ne? So luckily nowadays they've got password managers that possibly go with biometrics, but still, the big data that's out there is definitely being shared. Okay. Sorry, for a second here I thought I was muted, but I'm not. Okay. Then the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is dependent on internet connection, right? But it's not necessarily dependent on continuous, how would I say, continuous connection. So it doesn't necessarily, I remember this question from a theory last year. The Internet of Things has a few limitations. What are they? And many kids use the fact that you need internet connection all the time. So point I want to make is this topic lends itself to a lot of content that gets tested in the theory paper that kids don't necessarily know. So I remember, who was it? Alexa. Alexa was off, was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was England and parts of America, luckily not in South Africa. So people were late for work because Alexa never woke them up. So in other words, the Internet of Things, Alexa, that you're talking to and saying, switch on the radio for me, please. Alexa knows which radio station you like. So if Alexa knows which radio station you like, she's also going to know what time you start listening to the radio, for example. So the Internet of Things is causing a lot of security issues, but again, not necessarily a bad thing, but not good. Okay, let's look at smartphones. It's not smartphones that we're going to research. It's the privacy and the use when you use your smartphone. So what does my phone have that could compromise my identity? If I don't even want to get started there, but lots. So the location information, what's cool about this is the new cars, and let's think about Tesla, but the new cars, even the smaller ones like the Toyotas and the VWs, have Bluetooth connection now. What information does a car give out about you? Ish, I don't even want to get started. But that's all because of location information. Okay, so sorry. These are the aspects that may affect the privacy of users, and there's a lot. All right. Now, talk about the topic. So the topic is investigate how one or more aspects impact on the privacy of people. Let's go back. These are aspects. Okay. One or more. It could be limited to this, or it could not be limited to this. That's up to you. Okay, so reading it again. Investigate, how one or more aspects impact on the privacy of people. If you look at the aspects that we just did, you can go with social media, Poppy Act, and smartphones, or a combination of aspects. So you can't go, for example, big data, and you could, but Internet of Things, but you could, it's not impossible. But something like targeted marketing and big data would go nicely together. The Poppy Act as well. Or online transactions, smartphones, and location information. So the topic says one or more, but don't let the learners research all of them. Rather stick to a few, or let them choose one. And there are very, very high flyers around us. Ne? So those high flyers might come up with different aspects that may affect privacy of users, as long as it's an aspect that affects privacy of users. So these are just examples, but learners may choose one. And Poppy Act on its own is not the research theme. The research theme is how it impacts on the privacy of people. Right. Let's go on to how, or at least what you should be doing. Let's see. You need to investigate the extent to which people are affected. In other words, how far did people go when they stole my identity? Okay, so has someone stolen my identity before? In my case, you can go ahead, be my guest, try it, because shame, right? So the extent of to which I got affected. So I'm seeing the questionnaire here a little bit. Okay, I'm trying to look at a range. Have you been affected 1 or 10? I'm just throwing it out there. Okay, the challenges and implications associated with the protection of privacy. So what are the challenges? I'm also seeing research in it, challenges and implications. In other words, what are the challenges? What are the implications if someone stole my identity, or if I use my smartphone, or if I participate on social media? And then how these challenges can be addressed. This should sound familiar to the people that have been doing the PAT for a couple of years, because first we want to know what is the problem, and then lastly we want to know how this problem could be addressed. That's the PAT. It's always going to be the PAT. Remember, we are going to assess research, information management, research processes, so they need to be able to go and gather information. Okay, I'll come back to this now. Okay, so you need to gather and analyze data relevant to the protection of privacy. In other words, you could go and gather data about which measures can be put in place to protect your privacy when you're using a smartphone. Just think that there are apps that can do that. Which technology can protect your privacy while using Internet of Things, for example? And like I'm saying, this is a research project, so I can't answer this question unless I go on the internet and go find information. Because if you ask me now, which measures can you put in place to protect your privacy when using ICTs? I don't know. Don't use a smartphone. That's the best I can come up with right now. Which technology can protect your privacy while using ICTs? The only thing I know that's kind of that I'm happy about is the password manager app on my phone, because it works with my biometrics, so no one can steal it. But just before that, I used to take photos of my passwords. Now that's very clever, ne? Okay, how many people have been affected? I'm seeing numbers. I like seeing numbers in the PAT because that's going to go to the spreadsheet, ne? And I also like to see numbers because that's going to come from the questionnaire. So you need to gather and analyze data relevant to the protection of privacy. In other words, which measures, which technology, how many people? Are you filling a questionnaire already? Because I can. And then the usual. How are you going to address the problem? And then the usual. Present your findings in a report. So I'm just going to quickly run back and let you focus on the blue words. The blue words are saying investigate one or more aspects. The second blue word says investigate, research the extent, the challenges, how the challenges can be addressed. Then it says gather data. Where will this data come from? From your research and from your questionnaire. And then get solutions. How are you going to get solutions? Think it out of your head. You can't. You need to do research about it. And then present your findings. Are you filling the PAT already? Okay. But if you don't, let me help you more. Okay. Let's see. You need to choose an aspect. Which aspect? Sorry, I went through the aspects. I'm not going to run back again. It's going to make you seasick. But the aspects are social media, POPI Act, Internet of Things, big data, etc. Those ones that I talked about earlier, you choose one or more than one. Then you do research and to process. So in other words, I choose the aspect, I go and research the aspect, and then through my research, I will process whatever I need to process. And then I present the solution. But let's take it further. When you choose the aspect, you need to investigate how online transactions, POPI Act, they should sound familiar because it's those blue words earlier, targeted marketing, big data, Internet of Things, use of smartphones, location information affect privacy of people. Not what is this, investigate how this affects privacy of people. Choose one. Then research. Okay, what are we going to research? We're going to research the extent. I'm filling a questionnaire. I'm going to research the challenges. I'm filling the internet. Investigate how these challenges could be addressed. I'm filling the internet. Gather which measures can be put in place. I'm also filling the internet because I'm not so sure if the people are going to know what measures could be put in place. If you ask your grandmother, for example, or someone like me, I don't know yet. And how many people have been affected? That feels like the questionnaire. So look at the second point. The second point says research and processing. Now, research and processing is, can I say, two ways. The research will be from the internet, from the magazine or the other source, and from the questionnaire, right? The processing will also come from the questionnaire and from the research done, but I'll talk more about it again. And then the usual, present it. How do you present it? You make a lovely report that the teachers love to read because it's full of nonsense. And then you give us some solutions. But like I said, we assess the process and not necessarily the outcome. Okay, more. Okay, let's talk about the research part. Okay, when I say the research part, you choose your aspect, you do the research. Let's look at the research part. The research, like I said earlier, is to investigate the extent. And remember, these are just suggestions, né? But investigate the extent, research the challenges, how these challenges could be addressed, which measures could be put in place, and how many people have been affected. Now, like I said, the research comes from two places, the questionnaire and the internet or other. If I have to look at the top things, né, I'll decide that investigate the extent of people affected, and I'm deciding there, but you don't have to decide the same thing I do. Would feel like the questionnaire, the extent of people affected. In other words, what has happened to you? I'm asking in my questionnaire. Because you lost your privacy or because you shared your bank details with someone over WhatsApp. What is the extent of the people affected? Then you research the challenges and implications. Now, I can't research the challenges necessarily with the questionnaire, but I might be able to research the implications through the questionnaire. So these are just some suggestions. How these challenges could be addressed, I'm feeling the internet because I'm not going to ask my friends in my class, what can I do to stop this, besides the fact that they're going to say stop using your smartphone, and that's never going to happen. Delete all your social media accounts. That's never going to happen. Okay, gather which measures can be put in place. Now again, I can't ask my grandmother, which measures do you think we can put in place so that your privacy is not lost? She's going to say, I don't have a clue what you're asking me. All right, how many people have been affected? Now this one for me feels like the questionnaire again, because we love numbers, né? Okay, that's the research part. So the point I'm trying to make here is that research comes from two places. Research comes from the questionnaire and it comes from the internet. Now, the questions that you're going to ask in your questionnaire are not necessarily going to be the research questions. It might be expanded on the research question. So you can't have a research question and the same question in the questionnaire. I'll get to that again. Yeah, I opened a can of worms down there, but it's okay. Okay, let's talk about processing. So all these things that I'm actually gathering, I'm going to process one or other way. And processing happens in the spreadsheet and in the database. All right. So some of these things, whatever you decide, should go to the spreadsheet And some of these things should go to the database. Let's see what I came up with. How many people, I've been saying this since the beginning, how many people have been affected feels like a spreadsheet. We work with numbers. The extent of people affected, rating 1 to 5 if you want, maybe the spreadsheet, maybe the database, but still. How many people use privacy settings when using social media? I'm not one of those. But then again, I've got an iPhone, and the reason I have an iPhone is because apparently Apple's security is very, very good. But yeah, I'm not advertising. I'm just saying what I heard. And how many people use privacy settings? I'm not one of those because I don't even know about it. Most of it anyways. Okay. Which security settings do you use on your smartphone? Right now, I can answer that question. I've got a password manager app that works with my face. So that security setting is actually in place on my phone, but that's in fact the only thing I've got. But if you feel it, then the database has got a combo box with specific options. Do you store passwords on your mobile device? Yes, I do. And how safe is it? A little bit better than it used to be, but still not 100% safe. And then how many teenagers use their privacy settings versus adults? Yeah, I can feel database or spreadsheet. Note what I've done. The processing part in the spreadsheet and the database is not necessarily just a repetition of what I'm supposed to be able to process. So what I research and what I process does not necessarily mean the same thing. In other words, what I research is the challenges and implications, because that's going to go in my report. But what I process mostly are numbers or specific limits to, can I say, security settings, for example. Okay. Then the focus of the PACT research must be on the protection of privacy when using ICTs. We can't talk about protection of privacy when they go for a camp. That's not what we mean. We mean the protection of privacy while you're using, can I say, a smart device, the Internet of Things, your smartphone, whatever, the tablet, whatever. While you're using this, how can you protect your privacy? Okay, you need to talk to your learners there. I mean, they don't know. So some of the questions that could be asked and discussed in class is, why is privacy important when using ICTs? And do you remember my mind map? Why is privacy important? That's what they've got. Why do you think it's important? Then answers are going to be things like, because they can steal your, they love to say, they can steal your identity, no? Yeah, we know. But take it, it's okay. Are people aware of the privacy settings available? I'm going to say no, because I don't even know half of what's available. But I can go and determine or research it as well and determine which settings are available. And then once I'm informed, I can start. Someone's microphone is on. Okay. What are the risks when privacy is lost? In other words, if someone steals your bank account number, what's the risk? They're going to steal your money if they've got some. Some of us don't, because January was a very long month. So they're going to steal your money. Or what's going to happen if they steal your smartphone? What's going to happen if they steal your laptop? What are the risks when these types of things happen? What costs are involved? The app that I'm using to ensure my privacy on my phone luckily doesn't cost, but this app is a free app. But I'm sure that if it's a payable app, I'll get more features, but I'm not willing to pay for my privacy until one day I'm going to lose it, then I'm going to be sorry. Okay, what can you do when your privacy has been compromised? I've seen many Facebook posts about my Facebook account has been hacked, and then what did you need to do? You need to call Facebook, you need to call WhatsApp, you need to call Google. Yeah, by the way, Google, I had to send Google an email to say, please release my stuff. They took it, they blocked it. They didn't charge me money because that would have been ransomware, but they blocked it, and I had to write a nice story to them about why can I please get my stuff back. So what's What can you do when your privacy has been compromised? You plead Google to give it back, and then they still say no. You sound like a threat. How do you ensure that your privacy is protected? Okay, how can I protect my privacy? Can you feel that the topic is something you must research? Because if you don't research it, you won't be able to answer these questions. Neither would I. How many people are aware that privacy could be lost when using social media? I'm sure your grandmother doesn't. Okay, how do you approach this topic? You choose an aspect. I wanted to say one aspect, but it seems like choose on an aspect. Okay, choose one of the following aspects: social media, POPI Act, marketing, Internet of Things, use of smartphones, and location. So you choose an aspect. Then you investigate how this aspect impacts on privacy. How? I don't know. What happened to you while you were using social media? What happened to you when you were talking to Alexa, because she knows how you like your coffee and whether you like coffee or not, right? Research how people are affected. This feels like the questionnaire as well, because how people are affected does not come from me, my own opinion. It comes from the experience of people. Research the challenges and the implications of loss of privacy. So what happens when you lose your privacy? Okay, so you choose your aspect, you investigate how the aspect impacts on privacy, how are people affected, challenges and implications, solutions to the challenges, and possible measures that can be put in place to protect the privacy. Are you feeling the pat? And not necessarily which technology, but you can research measures. It's the same as the technology, not the same as the technology, but measures including technology. Okay, my laptop is off, almost off. Okay, your task is to investigate an aspect, its implications and challenges, gather data, number of people, whatever, possible solutions, possibilities to address the challenges, present your research and findings in a report, and obviously to a suitable audience. But the problem is, find the aspect, how it impacts on people, what can be done, the research, and then the solution. Feel the PAT. The PAT is the same as every year. The only, can I say, slight difference might be choose an aspect, investigate how it impacts, what can be done, what is the extent of the impact, etc. Find solutions and present them. Now, this is important, but I just need to make sure that you are aware that learners can also keep a backup, because I've had issues in the past in my district where people lost their pads, but thank goodness the learners actually had a backup. So learners brought it to school and they continued working on it. So besides the fact that you need to keep a backup, you can and may and should ask learners to also make a backup. I did have a situation last year where we couldn't find the data, and luckily the learners had copies of it. So we could just pick up on that and continue. Okay, one more thing. The research has been done for you. Okay, so if you look at the PAT, you'll see, and I'm not going to open it now, but there's URLs for different topics. So what I've done is I've downloaded all of those, print friendly, and I've shared it in the folder with the subject advisors. And then you can give that research to the learners. Alternatively, you open up your internet and your learners can actually go and click on those links and open the websites for themselves. So there's a slight difference this year. But I need to make you aware about of the last sentence. It says, although you may use the resources from this list, you must also include research or resources that you found on your own. Although there are technically no marks allocated for it yet, it is important that either you or your learners go and do more research than what is here. Okay, there's a couple, I think it's 24 websites, information that I've downloaded that's contained in the PAT, but it's going to help your learners if you already give them the research. We've been doing it for years anyways, but now it's just in the PAT. So it will help that your learners get the research. So the minimum that you need to give them is at least what is contained in the PAT. If there are kids that want to go and do more research, no problem. If you feel that that's not enough, you want to give them more research, also not a problem. Okay? And then this is important. You must include research of your own. Now, let me say this. You can't be hard and fast on it at this stage. But it is important that if a learner does more than required, then he needs to get the marks that's allocated for that.